Hey guys, Hippopotamus here, and today I'm going to be showing you, this is my first of two armor share builds. This one has a little bit more survivability as it has higher armor regen and a little bit more shield health, and there is a couple of sort of changes that you can make to this if you so please, and I will show that as we get to it. But let's just start the normal way and go over to the specialization table. In this case we are using the gunner, and there is plenty of reasons for doing so. So to start off with, the riot foam grenades actually ensnare enemies, which can proc one of our talents. So this is just one of many ways that we can use to help us give our team and ourselves bonus armor. The incessant was part of the reason why I chose armor on kill mods on the build, just because I wanted to synergize with that. However, we can make some changes and talk about that once we get there. Coupler every third reload is 50% faster. With the Scorpio shotgun that we are using, the reload is reasonably slow, so this will help speed up and give us a little bit of a DPS increase on the slower reloading weapon like the shotgun. Hardened armor kits is actually very, very good. We're actually going to see a large amount of value from this because that 30% bonus armor that we gain for 10 seconds is a percentage base of our base armor, which is very high. So we're actually going to see more use out of this than, say, an all red build or an all yellow build, skill build or DPS build, however you want to call it. So yeah, this directly plays into the build as well. The Banshee Pulse is another way that I proc the backpack talent, as it does, it's not ensnare, but it confuses enemies or disorientates them. You don't have to use this, I do, and I'm going to offer up a couple of suggestions when we get to this point about whether you want to use this or not. We also have the mods, so there is a mod to increase the effect duration, and there's also a mod to increase the range. I use the range mod. I don't increase the effect, I actually use a skill haste mod, but you can use this if you didn't have a decent skill haste mod, so both of these are quite viable. The range is definitely worth taking. We also have supply line, so you regenerate 10% of your ammo every 60 seconds, and party members recover 5. So not only are you going to help your team regenerate ammo, you are going to regenerate ammo as well. And with the Scorpio, it suffers from a low ammo pool reserve, so this is going to help keep that uptime with the shotgun, because the Scorpio has a talent that will again proc our backpack galvanize quite frequently, so we're going to need to keep this up as often as possible. Barrage, a 5% fire rate increase. We do use one weapon that does sort of have a high fire rate, so 5% on top of the CTAR. If you do get a couple of kills, it might be a way of chaining a quick couple of cheeky kills just to keep preservation up. It's only going to refresh the buff though, it's not going to sort of keep it. You're not going to get it twice, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so in placement, it's basically weapon handling when you stood still for 1 second at 10%. This could be handy, say, if you had the CTAR out and you were shooting at an enemy to try and get a headshot. It's going to give you accuracy, stability. It's also going to give you reload speed and swap speed. So things that could be useful, but you just have to mind that you have to be still for 1 second for that to activate. With the weapons tree, you can see the branches that we've taken here. We have shotgun and assault rifle, and those directly are used in the build, so this synergizes nicely. It's an extra 15% damage for both. I just want to have an honourable mention for the minigun that we use. The minigun actually is really good because not only does it give you bonus armor when you pull it out, it also, as you get kills with it, I think even possibly when you hit enemies with it, it actually gives you armor back. I'm just going to be careful about what I say there. I think it might be on a kill, but there's possibly, if you hit an enemy with the gun, it might actually give you armor back. And this is another way to supplement our healing, because our regeneration is okay, but it's not as high as a full regen build. So we have to just bear in mind that that is not something that we want to pass up. We can use this in a pinch to grab some armor back and get some bonus armor too. Right, great. So let's just head down to the range and take a look at the build dead quickly. So taking a look at the build, I am using a CTAR as my offhand weapon. This one comes with assault rifle damage, health damage, and damage to targets out of cover. The health damage is very nice because if we are shooting at red enemies, they are a health pool, so that's a direct 21% increase to health pools that we're shooting at, so things like weak points, so quite useful. We have the talent Preservation on here, and what this does is when you kill an enemy, it gives you 10% of your armor back over 5 seconds, and if you get a headshot, that improves to another 10%, so 20% over 5 seconds. I just want to say that normally when I go a build like this tanky, I will take headshot damage mods and then improve the accuracy and stability of the weapon. But because this weapon is a high fire rate, we can see it's 900 RPM, I'm trying to burn weak enemies quickly, and that is the reason why I've taken a little bit of crit chance. It's just to increase that, I guess, burst damage on those smaller enemies, just so I can dispatch them quicker and get the bonus. So the main weapon that we are using the Scorpio, and this comes rolled with shotgun damage, damage to armor, and damage to targets out of cover. All good stuff. That's the trifactor of damage that we want. And we have the talent Septic Shock. So Septic Shock, it's going to apply stacks of venom which last for 10 seconds. Increasing stacks add more severe debuffs to the target. So at 2 stacks, you're going to poison them. 4 stacks, you're going to disorientate, and at this point you will activate Galvanize. And at 6 stacks, you're also going to activate Shock, which if you haven't already activated Galvanize, or it's been down for a second long enough to reactivate it, the Shock will also activate Galvanize. So when you get 9 stacks, the target takes additional damage for 20% from all sources, and then you can't apply any other stacks until the duration runs out. So that's worth noting, you can't reapply the status effects to an enemy until the duration of the mark is gone. So, with that said, I'm going to show my pistol. Again, I feel like I say this every video, it's a TDI card. There is a reason for this, and again, it's for the skill tier whilst I'm holding it. What this is going to do for me is a couple of things. If I have the Reviver Hive, it's going to give me extra shots in my Reviver Hive, so I can throw it out, pick up 2 teammates, or potentially pick up 1 teammate and then pick up the Hive and still have a shot for myself. But in my case, with me using the Banshee Pulse, it's going to give it the Banshee Pulse an extra skill tier. So that's going to help it just have a bit more effectiveness, give it a little bit more range, and it's also going to give the effect duration just a little bit more. It's nothing a lot, but it's definitely worth, if you can take advantage of it, you can use it to increase the Banshee Pulse. So that's the reason behind it. I also have crit chance mods on here. Again, it's just to burn weak enemies. So if I can crit, it's just going to help me burn that enemy just a little bit faster. It might not be a lot, but it's still something. Right, so I guess with the build, I'll just go through the gear set pieces, and then we'll talk about the brand set, because the way that I can do that, I can show why we haven't used all the pieces of Foundry here. So going through Foundry, what we can see is I've only taken 3 pieces. So this gives us total armor, and it also gives us 1% armor regen and 50% shield health. So those are all things that I really want. The shield health is good, keeps the shield up for longer. The 1% regeneration directly plays into having some regen and armor regen rolls on our pieces, and the total armor is the most important thing that we're looking for. I just want to try and get my armor pool as high as possible, so when I click that shield or activate Galvanize, it's going to give the team as much armor as possible, because our base armor is what is shared. So the higher that we can get that, the more armor I'm going to share as bonus armor when I do so. It is worth saying, with the 4-piece, you can change this if you want, and I'll offer up a suggestion in just a second. Let me just go through the pieces and what they have, and then we'll offer up a quick suggestion about how you can use a 4-piece of Foundry if you so wish. So every piece that I have of Foundry is rolled with armor regen, and then I have some in-slot mods of armor on kill. Again, that just ties into the specialization whenever you see the armor on kill mods. It's not a lot, but it's just a little bit of something to tickle up the 10% that we do get off the specialization. So again, we can just see that they all have armor regen, so that's nice and easy to go through. What I'll do is I will go through these 2 pieces here, the back and the holster, because this is a way that we could make a change. So I'll just go through mine quickly, and then I'll offer the suggestion of how to change things. So I'm wearing 2 pieces of Badger Tough. That gives us shotgun damage, something that we want, and then it's that all-important 5% total armor for the second piece, which is what we're looking for. And because we have 2 good bonuses here, that's why I've kind of taken it. We'll see on the holster as well, there is another reason. This comes rolled with armor, hazard protection, armor regen, and armor on kill. and has that all-important talent, Galvanize. So when we apply a blind, ensnare, confuse, or shock to an enemy, it grants 40% of our armor, so 2.3 million in this case, to your teammates, basically, that are within 20 meters of that enemy for 10 seconds. Okay, so this is a great buff. We can keep reapplying it. It's very, very good. And we also have the holster here, so the ammo dump plays into this two-piece that I'm using. Obviously, it's going to give us a special attribute of ammo capacity. Now, I did say that shotguns suffer from a low ammo capacity, so an extra 10% is just an extra reason for using it. Again, we can change this in just a second. We'll just go through what it's got. It's got armor, hazard protection, and armor regen, all things that we're trying to stack up. So we could change this build if we so pleased. If you look at this build and say, hey, I don't really like those Badger Tough pieces, I would change them for something else. That is absolutely fine. My suggestion would be to change the holster for a piece of the Foundry, and you could have Foundry here, then you could have the 4-piece, and then what you could do is you could farm a backpack with the same stats and have Usina Jetica. That also gives you 5% total armor and will give you Galvanize as well if you have the right rolls on it, which would be a way of using it with Foundry. So for our chest, we're using Point Man. So obviously this is a non-negotiable because of what it does. This is the best in slot that we can get for sharing armor, and it's a Gila piece. So Gila gives us 5% total armor. It's also got core rolls of armor, armor regen, and hazard protection, and we have again another armor on kill in slot mod there. So it's the talent that we're very much interested in, that perfect Vanguard. Deploying a shield makes it invulnerable for 5 seconds and grants 50% of your armor as bonus armor to all other allies for 20 seconds. The cooldown is 25 seconds, so you have 5 seconds of downtime if your timing is bad, because obviously normally we wouldn't have any other way of sort of supplementing that bonus armor, but because we have Galvanize, we can mitigate that quite easily. Okay, with all the gear been sorted, we can go through the skills. First thing I want to say is I'm using the Banshee Pulse. I am using a Radius mod and a Skill Haste mod in mine. You can use the Reviver Hive if you wish. This will save you if you go down. But I quite like the Banshee Pulse. It gets me out of some tight pinches, and I don't feel with this amount of armor and the amount of regen that I've got after I've learnt to play the build, I don't really need it as much. So up to you what you take here. Please just note that this is my personal preference. Okay, so the non-negotiable obviously is the shield. I'm using the Crusader shield, and this comes as a tier 6. It also has shield health mods placed into it and the damage bonus per enemy for enemies in front of the shield. So that's how I've got mine set up, and the shield again is non-negotiable because of the chest piece that we're using, which is Vanguard. We also have the Riot Foam Grenades. These are going to help us ensnare enemies and proc the backpack. It's just one of multiple ways that we can proc that ensnare talent and keep bonus armor up for ourselves and for teammates. So if we just go down to the range, we can make sure that we have everything set up correctly. Okay, excellent. Let's just turn the skill haste off. Run in and out. So I'll just give the disclaimer here with the stats. I'm level 1000, so if you are under level 1000, you may see slightly different numbers. If you're 1000 plus, you're going to have identical numbers if you've built this exactly the same. So for our weapon talents, we have Preservation, Septic Shock, and Preservation. Honourable mention to the minigun as well, as we said previously. Don't forget that that's there. It is useful and will help you regen armour when you use it. Weapon damage is obviously quite low, and our crit and everything else is quite low. We just have a small amount of damage, but it's still enough to kill weak enemies. Don't think that we can't kill, we definitely can, and we should aim for the head wherever possible. We can see the same with the shotgun here, apart from having a bit of armor damage and the health damage that change between the two weapons. So armor targets obviously will benefit from the Scorpio shooting at them, the assault rifle, anything with health. We also have the pistol as well, and the minigun. So obviously damage is reasonably low. We've taken an extra 10% from the shotgun there with Badger Tough, so that will help us a little bit. Okay, so gear talents are Galvanize and Perfect Vanguard. Excellent. So we've talked about gear sets and brand sets. You can use 4 pieces of Foundry if you want, and I have given a suggestion there about maybe how you can do that if you so wish. We have used 3 pieces of Foundry, 2 pieces of Badger, and 1 piece of Giller, and we are obviously doing that chasing the total armor stat that we really want. We have 2.3 million armor, and again, that's part of the reason why we've chased total armor. We can get this higher, so I guess talking about expertise here would be useful. The more ranks of expertise you take, the more total armor you're going to get, the more bonus armor you'll share. This will also increase the armor on kill because you have a higher pool of armor, and it will also increase the regeneration. I'm sat at 15 ranks at the minute. I think that's quite achievable for most people. But you could definitely drop more ranks into it to help these numbers here. We also have some hazard protection at 40%. So if we are set on fire, bled, blind death, burn, any of these statuses that we see, we've got a 40% resistant to those. And just makes us that little bit more tanky, effectively. As we are a support tank, this is going to directly play into helping us take less damage. Again, with the pulse, you can use the hive if you wish. I just don't feel that I need it, having this amount of armor and knowing how to play this build inside and out, having played it for a long time. I don't feel that I need the Reviver Hive. You can use that if you wish. The shield is obviously non-negotiable. We need this and it directly plays into the perfect Vanguard, so we can't not take the shield. Right, so let's talk about how to use the build. First thing I'll do is we'll talk about the ways to proc Galvanize, and we have multiple ways to do so. So I will just bring an enemy close by. So to start off with, we have the Riot Foam Grenades. These will proc Galvanize as they are in Snare, and we can see 40% bonus armor for us and our teammates. Any teammates that are within the range of that 20 meters. We can also start the fight off by clicking our shield open and then using the Gunner Pulse, the Banshee Pulse, and that will create confusion, so obviously that's going to help us and our teammates, and it's a way of getting the 90% straight off the bat. Notice that I was holding the pistol here to get a little bit more value out of the Gunner Pulse. I think it's probably worth just quickly showing what that does if we have a tier 1 and a tier 0. So if we just... we can't go into that for just a second, one sec. If we just take a second just to look at the differences, and it'll explain the reason why I have the TDI card. So it just gives us a bit more cone size and a bit more disorient duration. Not a lot, but you know, it's something, and it might be worth taking. If you've got lots of enemies in the room, it'll just give you a bigger cone to fire at the enemies. The next way that we can proc Galvanize is with our Scorpio. So when we hit enemies, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can see that we do Disorient on 4. So when we've done Disorient, we can see that that Galvanize will go up. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to shoot at the target one more time, and when we do Shock, you can see that we also proc Galvanize. Once we've got those max stacks though, we can't you know, apply any other statuses to that target, and that's where things like other sources come into it, where we can proc Galvanize as well, because obviously until that mark goes away, we can't do any other statuses, or we could just shoot at a different enemy, I guess. So obviously, with team support, we're giving the team bonus armor, all useful things. If we get hurt, we have a couple of ways of sustain. You can see that the healing is just a slow trickle because we have a large pool of armor. It's not terrible, it's definitely something that will heal you over time, but we need ways of supplementing that if we can. One way is obviously if we need to use an armor kit, we have bonus armor, and then we can stack that bonus armor again with even more armor. That's great. But what we can also do is, let's just take some damage again and show why we've taken the preservation talent. So when enemies are in a health bar like this, we can shoot them, and you can see that preservation is going to help us tick up a little bit of extra armor regeneration. So when we have enemies, we just need to choose which ones we're going to shoot. Again, it's not like we do no damage, but shooting an armored target is going to take significantly longer than when we get into health. So if we deliberately choose to shoot at weaker enemies, ones with no armour, we can proc that talent much quicker. One final disclaimer I want to say is when you're playing with Vanguard, it doesn't proc for yourself in groups of 4, but when you're playing special content like raids or I think it's Countdown, where there's 8 players, it actually procs for yourself. So you actually get that 50% for yourself. So that's just one thing to note. I guess that's pretty much everything there with this build. Hopefully that goes through everything well and explains everything okay. I'll be back in a moment with a second build, my 2.0, to show off the different variation that I have of this build because it's so good, it helps teams really, really well. Hopefully that's enjoyable. Going to leave that there. Thanks again for tuning in and see you in the next one.